Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. In this video we're going to learn how to knit this cute baby hat, and this is called flower baby hat because it's got a flower border. Now if you know how to knit and purl, how to knit it together, I think you'll be alright knitting this hat without any problems. However, I decided to film the techniques and to teach you each stitch, how you need to work it in order to knit it without any problems. So I will have a downloadable PDF on my Ravelry with step-by-step instructions for this pattern, but I will also help you by knitting along the stitches in order to help with the pattern. I try to do this with most of my patterns. I try to film the technique, the different stitches to go along with the patterns that I bring out. And I've used this. You've probably seen it in my previous video for a shawl that I was knitting. I've used this stitch, but I thought it would look so nice on the edge of a baby hat because. Let me just lay like this because it's easier to see. Now, isn't that pretty? Oh, I just love it. I think it's so cute. You can make it any color you want. I use this. I had a little ball of yarn, leftover yarn, so I just decided to go ahead and knit it and design it. Now I'm going to show it to you in a different yarn that you could buy from Hobbycraft, or wherever. It's a DK weight yarn, so if you have any DK soft yarn for babies, then this would be a great project. I have it in 3 sizes. This is the smaller size, and I'm gonna knit with you a bigger size just so you can see the difference. But it will come in small, medium, large, anywhere from newborn to 1-year-old, I'd say. Now, we know that children have different size heads, so because of that, I will give you the measurements, the specific measurements for the hat, so you know which size you want to knit. What do we need for this? So obviously you need yarn. I'll just put this aside. And this is the yarn that I will use to demonstrate today. It's why can't I say that word? It's inexpensive yarn from Hobbycraft. I don't remember the exact price, but I will link it down below so you could go and check it. They have it in different colors because it's Hey Baby. It will come in light colors. So this is like a cute pink. They also have a blue, white, cream. I use this for the baby dress, I think, for the ruffle baby dress. I will link that video down below if you're interested. It's beautiful to work with. Let me just give you the exact. So it's 60% acrylic, 40% polyamide, washable, machine washable, DK weight yarn. Here it says you should work it with 4mm needles. However, I'm a loose knitter, so I go down half a size. I'm going to use 3.5mm circular needles. The gauge is 10 by 10 centimeters, 22 stitches, 28 rows, but I will give you the exact gauge in the pattern. Just follow the link in the description down below. That will take you to my Ravelry page where you could download the pattern. What else do we need? So we need yarn, we need needles, and I have these Knit Pro Platinas tips. Now they're smaller than the usual kind. This is the usual size of platinas. So as you can see, these ones are smaller. They're easier to knit in the round on hats because you won't have any cable hanging anywhere. Obviously any circular needles that you need, that you have, they're fine. It doesn't have to have a small cable. You could just use magic loop instead. You also need a ruler. You also need some scissors. You need a tapestry needle and some DPNs for the icord of the hat. Now some people, with the flower stitch technique that I'm using here, some people use cable needles to work it. I just use this tiny needle because I'll show you it's simpler and it's easier with this one, because we won't have to cable stitches, we just have to hold them. So having just a small little thing like this, it's a lot easier. Now the construction of the bonnet or baby hat starts here at the flower stitch. We're going to cast on, then we're going to work the flower stitch and work in the flat for 10 centimeters with a small garter stitch border. Then we're going to cast on some stitches here, and we're going to join in the round to make this swirl, whirlpool, or whatever you want to call it, decrease section, and close it over here. So it knits quite fast. It's very easy to follow instructions, and it looks so cute. At the end you finish with the icord strings, which will make it better for the baby than just simple crochet chain, because I find the crochet chain is a bit too thin for the baby's chin. These are a bit thicker, they're elasticy enough to make a little bow underneath, and the baby will be very comfortable like this. That's it. All right, so if you want to knit this along with me, go ahead and grab your yarn and your needles and download the pattern, and we will start in the next section to cast on. All right, we're ready to do our cast on. So you just want to take this out, and you can choose to knit from these like cakey style skeins. You can choose to knit from this outer end, but I prefer the inside of the skein. So I'm just going to tuck this in here like this and find the end from the middle, and sometimes it comes out like a bundle and you just keep pulling it until you find your end. I'll just leave about that much, and obviously if you have extra you can just snip it off. To make the first stitch or the knot, slip knot, you want to hold your yarn like this, twist, reach through and pull the yarn, and then you pull on the tail until you have your first stitch. Let me show you again. So you hold your yarn like this, you twist, reach through, grab that end and pull it out. Now if you've been watching me for long, you know I like to cast on double needles like this to make my life easier for the first row, because the cast on row is always quite tight. So I'm going to put both needles, pull on that end, the tail, and that will be my first stitch. So then I hold on the yarn like this. This is the tail, this is my working yarn. So I'm going to go under, pick up the working yarn and pull through. That's one stitch. So under, pick up the working yarn and pull through. Pick up the working yarn and pull through. And as you can see, when you pull through, your thumb automatically goes under, so all you need to do is twist back, reach from underneath to grab your working yarn and pull through. So this is what we're going to do. we're just going to cast on the number of stitches for the size that you're working, and I will speed this up and I will show you how we're going to start the flower stitch. Once you've done your cast on, it will look something like this, and you're going to start working on the back of your work. That's row number 1 in the flower stitch. So all you need to do is pull on one of your needles. Just be careful so not all of them come out. Stretch your stitches a bit, and we're going to work in the flat. And this is, we start with the wrong side row. So the first thing that we're going to do is knit 1. Then your pattern will say knit 1, wrapping yarn around needle 3 times. So under, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and you're going to pull your yarn through. So it looks like a funny stitch. It looks like a stitch that has 3 loops on top of it. So we're going to do that 4 more times, so 5 times in total. Go through 1, 2, 3, pull it through. 1, 2, 3, pull it through. 1, 2, 3, pull it through. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches, 1 more. 1, 2, 3, pull it through. So you want to repeat this until the end, and then you're going to knit 1. So this is how we start it. Knit 1, knit 5 stitches, wrapping the yarn around needle 3 times on each one. So 2, 3, that's 1 stitch. 1, 2, 3, that's another stitch. 1, 2, 3, that's 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 5 stitches. So you can really see it where you've done it. So this is just a knit 1 stitch, and then you have 5 stitches with 3 wraps around each one. Just a single knit 1, and then 5 with the yarn around needle 3 times. So you repeat that until you've got 1 stitch left, and you're going to knit that stitch, and that's the first row. So that's your first row, and it looks quite odd now because you've got all these wraps around the majority of the stitches, but don't worry, that will make the flowers look beautiful. Now for the next row, this is the row where you would need this needle, and it's a bit of a challenging one, but you're just gonna have to, you know, power through it, because it makes the biggest difference if you have the patience and if you do it like all kind of the same. We're going to start with knit 1. Then we're going to take this needle and we're going to transfer. Just be careful, that sometimes that comes out, so just let it hold there. So you see all these 5 stitches that have extra, let me just bring them closer. They have the extra loops. You want to just go under the first loop and bring all the loops out like this. So go into the next one, next one, next one, and the 5th one. And you will have all these like very long stitches, and you want to hold them together like this. And then with your working yarn that's coming from the back, that's your working yarn, yeah, you want to go, just so you can see it all. So that's the working yarn, yeah. You're going to go from the back to the front one time, pull it, not too hard, a second time, and you kind of gather them all up, as you can see. And now you want to slip them on this needle, so just go underneath and slip all of them on your needle, and this is what you're going to end up with, like a bundle of stitches, something like this. Now don't be too loose with this wrap, because I know you would think, oh, I don't want to be too tight, because if I'm too tight then the stitches will look all too tight. Don't worry about it, just let it be quite tight. Then we have our normal stitch here, so we're just going to knit that stitch, yeah, and then we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to go and pick up all those extra wraps on this little one tapestry needle, because we only need one sharp end. I mean, not that sharp, it's got to be blunt so we don't split the stitches. And here we have it again, the long stitches. We're going to hold them like this, and we're going to wrap our yarn from the back underneath once, twice. And in order to be able to pick up those stitches and move them on this, you just want to pull on that wrap down with your nail, and then just slide those stitches over to your right needle. Drop that needle and knit the next stitch. This is what it looks like so far. It doesn't look that cool yet, but we're getting there. So the same thing, I'm going to show you this one more time, then I'm going to speed it up. So pick up all the loops like that, long stitches on your little needle, hold them together with your working yarn, wrap around once, wrap around twice, pull down on the wraps a bit to release that pressure, and slide the 5 stitches on your right needle. So you just keep on doing that until you finish all your stitches for the whole row, and I'll speed it up and I'll see you when we're ready to work the next row. When you're finished with this row, which I think is the most difficult in the whole hat, you end up with these little clusters, and they look like little flowers. But we're not finished with the flower yet. For the next row, we're going to knit all stitches, and that will finish the flower, but you still won't be able to see the shape of it until we move on to the stockinette part. So you knit the first one, and then you knit all those loops. You just knit them through the front. Then you end up at your normal stitch, then 5 more loops. Normal stitch, 5 loops, so that's the flower part and the most difficult part done. Once you get over this, it's just plain Netflix knitting, which will be knits and purls, and that is it. For the first row of the stockinette, you will just knit all stitches. For the back, the wrong side row of stockinette, you will knit 3, purl until 3 stitches left and knit those 3 stitches, and that will be because of the garter stitch that we want to do here, so the hat doesn't roll up. And once your head measures the right length of stockinette, and for this one it was 10 centimeters. For the bigger versions it will be 11 and 12 centimeters of stockinette. Then we will start the decreases right after we cast on the little stitches here to join in the round, and that's what we're going to do in the next section. So our working measures about 12 centimeters to the tip of the flower. So that's it. And we're going to join in the round and start the decreases, which is the last part of the hat. And I just wanted to show you how to do that, because it's not hard, but if you're a beginner, then you will have a little bit of a difficulty. So you finish working a right side row here, and we're not going to turn our work, but what we're going to do is cast on a few stitches. So the way we're going to cast on is kind of like the slip cast on, I believe it's called. So all you need to do is put your thumb under and put the needle through and pull. That's it. That's all you need to do. Just easy, just like that. Now you will have in the pattern the right amount of stitches that you need to add to the hat. So never mind the amount that we did here. It's a bit too much because I wanted to demonstrate it more. And then all you need to do is bring on your back needle or your other needle like this, and then we're going to continue working one round. I should have brought a stitch marker. Oh, here we go. I've got one right here from one of my knit crates. Let's just use this gorgeous one. This one is by exchangingfire.com, sorry. Exchangingfire.com, and I'm sure they have an Etsy shop as well. It's one of these cute, like earring looking like. We're just gonna mark that as the beginning of our round, and we're gonna go ahead and do one round this time of just plain knitting. So we joined in the round, and now all we need to do is just knit, knit, knit. And after that, we will start the decreases. And now we're going to start the decreases. And the decreases are just knit 2 togethers, and I'll show you how we're going to do that. So you knit the amount of stitches that the pattern tells you to knit. Let's say knit 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're going to knit 8, knit it together, knit 8, where was I? No, 5, 6, 7, 8, knit it together. Just want to finish this round so I can show you how you'll know where you're at in the next decrease row. Because if you do it that way, you will have the nice pattern at the back of the hat, other than just randomly decreasing what was I, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Knit it together. The stitch count of how many you need to knit between the knitted togethers, it will be all in the pattern. I think here I must have dropped a stitch. Yeah. Okay, so I'm at the beginning of the next round, and you will decrease every round. I'm going to start knitting until we get to one stitch before our knitted together from the previous round, and you'll see it like this. Can you see? It's a bit different. So one stitch before that, and then I'm going to knit two together. Knit again, but the pattern will tell you the exact numbers of stitches. I'm just saying, just in case you're like me, I don't like to keep looking back at the pattern. You see, we are again in one of those stitches. This one it's a decrease knitting two together, so I'm going to knit two together there again. So we keep doing that until we're left with just a few stitches, and I'll show you what we're going to do with those when we're there. So you keep on decreasing the way the pattern tells you to decrease, and you after the second decrease row you will start to see the work going that way, as you can see. And when you're left with a few stitches, so depending on what size you're knitting, I was left here with 8 stitches. In the bigger sizes you will be left with more stitches, depending on the size. I'll show you what we do with them when we get to that point. A few minutes later I finished the decreases, and they look, let's take that off, they look like this, and I'm left with 9 stitches, I believe. And all we're going to do with those stitches is we're going to pull the yarn through. So cut your yarn, grab your tapestry needle and thread your yarn through, and then we're going to go through all stitches and pull this yarn through. So go through the first one and just take it off the needle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 stitches. And then just pull the yarn through and make like a little flower. And then just go through the yarn and weave in that end to close in this gap. Oh. When you're done, you just put the needle through and weave it completely on the inside. And what I do normally, I just go through some of these pearl bumps, then I'm going to make a knot, go through some pearl bumps again, in and out like this. Make another knot. Pull it through and cut. And you're almost finished with the hat, but now we can take a look at it better. Obviously it's going to sit better when it's washed and blocked. Now it's a little bit crinkled up, but this is what the hat looks like. As you can see, here are the decreases. You can lay it down like this as well, so you can see it better. And now all is left to do is attach these I-cords. Make the I-cords straight on the hat so we don't have too much weaving to do. And I'm going to show you just one of them, and I'll let you do the other one. So that's where we started. That's our cast on tail. We're going to leave it on the side there. We're going to take our working yarn, leave a little bit of a tail like this right next to that one. We're going to tie them together eventually. And then I'm not going to go right where the flower is because we've got some yarn overs here that are going to be a bit too weak to attach the cord to. I'm going to go in the garter stitch next to it. So I'm going to go in this way and pick up one stitch, then into the next another one, and into the next another one. And I've got 3 stitches now, and I'm using DPNs for this because you need to use DPNs for the I-cord. I'm not going to turn the work, I'm just going to slide the stitches to the beginning. My working yarn is coming from the back here, but I'm going to start knitting these 3 stitches on this side. So we're not going to turn our work at all in this I-cord. We'll just slide the stitches to the beginning of the needle, and the working yarn coming from the back at the end, just going to pull it and knit 3 stitches again. So that's going to make the I-cord like a tube. It's going to be like a mini tube. It's going to look the same on the other side as well. So just keep working like this until you get the size that you want. And I would say maybe make it better longer than shorter to be able to make a little bow underneath. If you prefer to make a garter stitch band and attach it with a button on the other side, that will look cute as well, but then you have to know the exact size of the baby, which is a little bit tricky. Now if it's your baby, yeah, that's fine. If you're making it as a gift, I think the I-cord, it's easier to do. So yeah, this is the I-cord. You can see it looks the same on all sides. And then what you want to do is tie a knot between the cast on and the tail of the I-cord, and then weave in that end. And that is it. The flower bonnet or baby hat is ready, and it looks so cute, I think. So please remember to tag me, #TeoMakes on Instagram, if you decide to knit this. For the pattern, head over to my Ravelry page, where you can download a PDF of this pattern and start knitting the hat. But thank you very much for watching. I will see you in my next one. Bye.